Hi, welcome to Candy Reviews channel. Please subscribe my channel and share video your friends. So let's start this video. ASUS ROG Strix B450-F Gaming 2 AMD AM4 Ryzen 5000 3rd Gen Ryzen ATX Gaming Motherboard 8+4 Power Stages HDMI 2.0 BDP2X PCIe 3.0x16 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C BIOS Flashback 256 MB BIOS Flash ROM. The Strix B450-F Gaming is classed as a mid-range board and is part of the Republic of Gamers lineup, which places an emphasis on gaming and related premium features. The board supports both Crossfire and Sly multi-GPU configurations, has a 6+2-phase VRM, and uses the SuperMFS 1220A audio and ASUS Tweak Realtek codec, while supporting the full range of Ryzen processors, up to the flagship mainstream processor and the Ryzen 7 2700X. The board itself is matte black with shiny black stenciling around the PCIe chipsets, with ROG-related slogans like Republic of Gamer, Hybrid, and some characters from languages other than English. It's worth noting this design is also on the back of the board in gray, but unless you happen to have a case with a see-through motherboard tray, this isn't something you're going to see once the board is installed. Covering the rear I/O area and part of the VRM heatsink is a plastic shroud with the only RGB LED implementation on the board, embedded in the ROG logo. The heatsinks for the VRMs are gray and have a fair amount of surface area to keep the heat-producing components underneath running in spec. ASUS employs its SAFISLIT reinforcement technology in the form of metal slot wrappers on the first two full-length PCIe slots, identifying the primary PCIe slots in the process. Another design feature similar to what we saw on the PCIe area is located on the chipset heatsink as well. ASUS calls the styling a futuristic cyber test pattern which fuses multiple gaming cultures to create a unique identity for this generation. According to ASUS, if the brighter plate on the chipset heatsink isn't your style, a more subtle option is included. In order to swap these out, simply peel off the cover protecting the tape and stick it on. Overall, the Strix B450-F Gaming presents users with a fairly blank black slate to work in with a build theme. If a single RGB LED section isn't enough, there are two headers on the board to expand your lighting options. Both the integrated and external RGB LEDs are controlled via the ASUS ROG software. Taking a look at the top half of the board, we focus around the AM4 socket first, where you'll find VRMs and RAM slots, as well as some fan headers. On the left side, we get a better look at the shroud, which partially covers one of the two VRM heatsinks, and holds the RGB LEDs under the ROG symbol. The heatsinks themselves are tall and able to dissipate the heat generated from the 6+2-phase VRM in our testing. Just above the heatsink is a single 8-pin EPS connector for the CPU. The VRM is 6 total phases managed by a 4+2 channel controller. The SoC uses a split-team 2+2 configuration. In a nutshell, we shouldn't have an issue driving most CPUs with this setup. We didn't have an issue with our 2700X overclocked at 4.2 GHz, which is about the end of the road for current generation Ryzen-based CPUs, anyway. Of the board's 6 total fan headers, 4 are located on the top half, 2 sit on the right of the top VRMs, and 2 more live above the PCIe X1 slot. The 2 located to the right of the VRMs are for the CPU fans, with the other 2, CHA-FAN1 and AIO pump, designated for case fan, and an AIO pump duty. All headers on the board support both DC and PWM fans, and can be controlled through the fan in the BIOS and Fan Expert for an ASUS. Just below the 2 fan headers is the QLED, which displays a different color LED to identify where in the boot process the board may be. The 4 options are boot, yellow, green, GA, white, DRAM, yellow, and CPU, red. If it gets hung up in one of those areas, the LED remains lit, letting you know there is an issue in that area. This is an important feature, especially since the board doesn't include a postcode LED debugger or beep speaker. In addition to the fan headers to the right of the VRM, we see the first of 2 RGB headers, the other located across the bottom of the board next to the other fan headers. Both RGB headers connect to standard 50/50 digital LED strips and will output a maximum of 3836 watts. Both the integrated and connected RGBs are controlled through the ASUS ROG software. Continuing to move right, we run into the 4 DRAM slots. They lack any metal protection or RGB lighting, not that we expect them at this price point, but do use a single latch to lock the memory sticks down securely. If you happen to swap out RAM frequently, you may learn to like them, as I do, for easier removal. Either way, the sticks aren't going anywhere once you get them latched in. Finally, on the far right side is the 24-pin ATX connector and a front panel USB 3.1 GEN1 header. The rear I/O panel has a fairly typical assortment of ports and plugs out back, including 2 USB 3.1 GEN2 Type A ports, 4 USB 3.1 GEN1 ports, 1 Type C, and 2 USB 2.0 ports. We found it unusual the Type C port was running Gen 1, 5 Gbps speeds as typically the newer connector runs Gen 2, 10 Gbps speeds. For video outputs, the board includes a full-size DisplayPort as well as a single HDMI port. Other ports include the Intel i211A TNIC, along with 5 5-plug audio jacks, and an SPDIF port. Legacy support at the back is provided by the PS2 port, which seemingly will never die. Thanks for watching.